You're deep in the woods near Asheville, North Carolina. It's early September 1997. You and your son are hunting in a remote stretch of Pisgah National Forest, miles from civilization. Just trees, mountain air, and the occasional campground. Then you notice something. Scattered clothing, and nearby you see bones, human bones. Most of the remains appear to be from a shallow grave. Over time, animals have dragged the bones and personal items out into the woods. The victim's bra has cuts and holes in the fabric, and the bones show similar marks, which leads investigators to a grim conclusion. This woman didn't just die in the woods, she was stabbed to death. But the biggest mystery isn't how she died, it's who she is. Because at first, investigators have no idea. There are no missing persons reports matching her description. But before long, investigators learn her name, and when they do, the case suddenly gets much stranger. Because this woman didn't disappear in North Carolina, she vanished 5 months earlier while sightseeing in Philadelphia over 600 miles away. And the question that still puzzles investigators to this day is simple. How did Judy Smith end up murdered in a forest outside Asheville?
Picture a thread stretched across a map of the eastern seaboard. One end pinned to the Doubletree Hotel in Center City, Philadelphia. The other end pinned to a shallow grave in Pisgah National Forest outside Asheville, North Carolina. That thread is the entire investigation. And after nearly 3 decades, nobody has been able to explain what connects those 2 points. Before we go deeper into what the evidence actually shows, make sure you're subscribed to Audit the System, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. Here is what the record confirms. On April 9, 1997, Judy Smith, a 51-year-old home healthcare nurse from Newton, Massachusetts, boarded a flight to Philadelphia with her husband Jeffrey. She was turned away at Logan Airport for lacking a photo ID.
But when they get to Logan Airport, something unexpected happens. Judy is turned away. She doesn't have a photo ID with her. Now, today that might sound like a strange mistake. Obviously, your ID is the one thing you have to have. But in 1997, that rule is still sort of new. Airlines in the United States only started enforcing the ID requirement in 1996. And according to Jeffrey, Judy's only flown once since that rule took effect. So while forgetting her license might seem very strange now, it may not have seemed like a big deal at the time.
A requirement airlines had only begun enforcing the previous year. She went home, retrieved her ID, and caught a later flight. Hotel employees at the Doubletree confirmed she checked in that evening. Jeffrey confirmed she was there. The airline confirmed her ticket was used. She was in Philadelphia. Nobody disputes that. The next morning, Jeffrey left to work his conference.
When he comes back to the room around 9 a.m., Judy's awake and getting in the shower. He later remembers telling her about the complimentary breakfast so she can go try it. Judy jokes that maybe she'll just go get it the way she is at that moment, with no clothes on. Jeffrey laughs. Then he heads off to the conference. It's a nice memory. It's also the last time he sees her alive.
Judy planned to spend the day sightseeing. They were supposed to meet at the hotel cocktail party at 6. Nobody answered that question. She never came back. No credit card activity, no bank withdrawals, no calls on her phone card, nothing. The investigation went cold, then colder. 5 months passed. Then, in early September 1997, a father and son hunting in a remote stretch of Pisgah National Forest stumbled onto scattered clothing and human bones pulled from a shallow grave by animals. The fabric on the victim's clothing showed cuts. The bones showed the same. She had been stabbed to death. She was dressed in hiking gear, insulated underwear, blue jeans, hiking boots. Clothes that had no connection to a sightseeing trip through Center City, Philadelphia. Her pockets were empty. Her red backpack, the one she called the Red Wonder, and almost never left behind, was gone.
One detail makes Judy especially easy to recognize. She carries a red backpack everywhere. Her family says she almost never goes anywhere without it. It's basically her version of a purse. Writer Michael Sokolov later writes that Judy even has a name for it. She calls it the Red Wonder, and it's usually stocked with just about everything she might need for the day. Snacks, a paperback book, and because she's a nurse, she carries medical supplies like scissors and bandages. It's that kind of bag that says, I'm prepared for anything.
Her diamond wedding ring was still on her finger. This was not a robbery. Nobody answered that question. Dental records confirmed the victim was Judy Smith.
And then the case takes an even stranger turn. Judy is finally found. 5 months later, but she's not in Pennsylvania, she's in North Carolina, hundreds of miles away, buried in a shallow grave in a remote stretch of Pisgah National Forest outside Asheville. When investigators examine the remains, something immediately stands out. Judy isn't dressed like someone who was walking around downtown Philadelphia. Her skeleton is wearing what looks more like hiking gear, long insulated underwear, blue jeans, hiking boots, clothes you'd expect someone to wear on a mountain trail, not on a sightseeing trip through Center City. And there's something else. When police check the pockets, there's nothing inside. No wallet, no identification, nothing that immediately tells them who this woman is. But nearby, investigators do find a backpack, a blue vinyl backpack, not the red one Judy was known for carrying. Inside it are winter clothes and $80 in cash. Not far from there, they find a shirt buried in the ground. In its pockets is another $87. When Judy disappeared in Philadelphia, Jeffrey estimated she had about $200 on her. The money found near her body appears to be what's left of that. And they already know that none of her credit cards were ever used. Her phone card wasn't used either, and there's been no activity at all on her bank account. One thing, however, is still exactly where it should be. Judy's diamond wedding ring is still on her finger, which tells investigators something important. This wasn't a robbery. But the one item everyone expected to find with her is missing. Where is her trusty red backpack, the one she carried everywhere, the Red Wonder? That bag is gone. Eventually, investigators are able to confirm the woman's identity through dental records. The victim in the forest is indeed Judy Smith.
Now here is where the evidence stops making conventional sense. Witness accounts from the Asheville area in the days after Judy disappeared place a woman matching her description, driving a gray sedan packed with boxes and bags, not a city tourist, but someone who looked like they were relocating. One witness said the woman asked to sleep in her car at a campground near where Judy's remains were later found. Another witness at a local deli recalled her buying roughly $30 worth of sandwiches and a toy truck. A third, and arguably the most credible, was a cashier at a souvenir shop who said the woman introduced herself as Judy, said she was from Boston, and explained she had decided to come to Asheville while her attorney husband was at a conference in Philadelphia. She knew details only Judy would know. She used Judy's name.
But the third sighting may be the most credible of all. A cashier at a souvenir shop near Asheville remembered the woman clearly. She introduced herself as Judy, said she was from Boston, and she just decided to come to the Asheville area while her attorney husband was at a conference in Philadelphia. When Judy's family hears this, they're completely baffled. Why would she go to Asheville? She never mentioned wanting to visit. The only connection anyone can remember involves a weight loss clinic there. She visited when Jeffrey was staying there as a client, but that was years ago.
Which means one of two things. Either Judy Smith left Philadelphia voluntarily, drove 600 miles south, changed her clothes, spent several days in the Asheville area, and was then murdered by someone whose identity remains unknown. Or someone wanted investigators to believe exactly that. Think about what that second possibility requires. It requires someone who knew enough about Judy to impersonate her convincingly. Someone who knew her husband was an attorney at a conference in Philadelphia. Someone who had access to her, or to information about her in the window between when she left that hotel room and when those witnesses say they saw her in North Carolina. Nobody answered that question. Here is what makes this a different kind of case. Judy Smith was not a vulnerable person. Her children described her to the Philadelphia Inquirer as capable, resourceful, street smart, strong-willed, blunt. She put herself through nursing school. She bought her own house. She took her adult children backpacking through Europe. She was not someone who panics, gets on the wrong bus, and ends up in another state. She was also not someone, by her children's account, who would walk away from her life without telling them.
Judy's children later told the Philadelphia Inquirer their mother wasn't the kind of person who simply got lost or fell apart in a strange place. They described her as capable, resourceful, street smart, strong-willed, blunt. This was a woman who had put herself through nursing school, who had bought her own house, who had taken her kids backpacking through Europe when they were in their 20s. In other words, this wasn't someone who panics because she gets on the wrong bus, and it's not someone who would be easy to abduct. And if she had decided to start a new life somewhere, she would have done it, but she would have told her kids what she was doing. Which raises another question. Why disappear during what was supposed to be a fun trip to Philadelphia? When the conference ended, Judy and Jeffrey were planning to drive over to New Jersey to visit friends. So if Judy really did want to walk away from her life, why leave then?
And if she had wanted to leave, they said she would have waited until she was home, where she had her things. So why April 10th? Why a sightseeing day in a city she had just arrived in, with a reunion dinner and a drive to New Jersey planned for that same weekend? Nobody answered that question. The name Gary Hilton has been raised in connection with this case. Hilton, known as the National Forest serial killer, was convicted of murdering 4 hikers in National Forest, including a couple killed in Pisgah National Forest. The same forest in roughly the same area where Judy was found. But those murders occurred in 2007, a full decade after Judy's remains were discovered. That gap does not eliminate him as a suspect. Serial offenders are frequently active for years before identification. But as of now, the connection is speculative.
And then there's the other mystery. Who stabbed her? And why? One theory people sometimes point to involves a man named Gary Hilton, aka the National Forest serial killer. He was eventually convicted of murdering 4 people, all of them hikers who disappeared in national forests. 2 of those victims, a married couple, were killed in Pisgah National Forest, the same area where Judy's remains were found. In fact, the woman was discovered not far from where Judy was buried. But there's a problem with that theory. Those murders didn't happen until 2007, 10 years after Judy Smith was found. Now, that doesn't completely rule Gary out. Serial killers sometimes operate for years before they're caught. It's possible Hilton could have started killing much earlier. But right now, the only thing linking him to Judy's case is speculation, which leaves investigators with the same frustrating problem they've had since 1997.
Nothing material links him to Judy Smith. Jeffrey Smith, Judy's husband, died of natural causes in 2005. He never had answers. Judy's children and stepdaughter are still waiting. The North Carolina case file on Judy Smith remains open. The Buncombe County Sheriff's Office and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Persons have both documented this case in publicly available records. Pull those records. Read the witness statements. Then come back and answer one question in the comments. Do you believe Judy walked into those mountains on her own, or was she taken there? If this case deserves more attention, and it does, like this video, share it, subscribe to Audit the System, and turn on notifications, because cases like this one don't get solved by investigators alone. They get solved when enough people are paying attention.